Good afternoon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with me today so that we can talk about a sad ending to a huge problem. It comes as absolutely no surprise to anyone in the Tampa Bay area that domestic violence death is on everybody's radar. As you know, in Manatee County this last weekend, as a result of domestic violence, a man and a woman were shot. It was a murder-suicide. A man shot his wife and then himself. And then, of course, there was a Hillsborough deputy and his wife in Pasco County, where he shot and killed his wife and shot himself and left 3 children. Domestic violence is, and I underscore, one of the most dangerous calls that we respond to, and last night was no exception. Once again, we had a person in a jealous rage. Now, let me take you back just only a few weeks when a person in a jealous rage thought his girlfriend got into an Uber and he chased the Uber down, texting that he was going to shoot the Uber driver and her. And he ended up dead. So what does Lindsay Collins do last night? Lindsay Collins is 25 years of age. For the last 2 years, give or take, she's been dating a young man by the name of Chris Ingram. And about 1 to 2 months ago, they broke up. Lindsay Collins, and you see a rendition of part of her text, was texting Chris Ingram last night, talking about what she was going to do, and she says things such as, "I will hunt y'all down. I will kill her. I will take her life and mine. You can watch. I don't care." We also know that just a few weeks ago, Lindsay rammed Chris's truck while he was in it. And last night about 10:30, Lindsay showed up at Chris's residence, and the people at the residence was obviously Chris Ingram and his roommate, a guy by the name of, I believe, Musselman. She arrived in a jealous rage, went into the house, totally out of control, started stripping the sheets off of Chris's bed, put a belt around her neck, and Chris wrestled with her and took the belt away. She became more animated and at some point in time produced a butcher knife. She ran Chris's roommate out of the house with a butcher knife. In fact, he hid in the boat. Chris also ran out of the house and was summoning law enforcement. While he was summoning law enforcement, and you'll hear it on the tapes, you'll hear him say, she's tearing up my truck. Deputies arrived, a single deputy. As the deputy arrived, put the car in park, stepped out of the vehicle, introduced himself to Chris. In less than a minute, she sprints from the house through a dimly lit area, and the deputy sees her coming. As she runs in front of the headlights of the patrol car, the deputy can see she's holding a knife over her head and charging toward Chris. She actually starts to run past the deputy, and she's chasing Chris full on with a knife in stabbing fashion. The deputy shoots one time, striking Lindsay in the chest, and she immediately goes down. The deputy provides life-saving measures and, in fact, saves her life. She's transported to Lakeland Regional Health, where she undergoes emergency surgery, and she's in critical but stable condition, and as I understand, she's been extubated now and is able to talk. This was a very dangerous scene last night. She talked about her intentions. She showed up with a knife. And if it weren't for the deputy intervening, Chris could have easily lost his life last night. She's got a criminal record. Guess what? She's been arrested for battery in the past. In addition to that, on another occasion, she's been arrested for possession of marijuana. So on at least 2 occasions, she's been arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, as it's described to us, she appeared intoxicated, in a total rage, and ran past a marked patrol car, knife in hand, to attack Chris in our presence. She had apparently been looking for him while he was outside waiting for law enforcement to arrive after she was inside tearing up the house. Well, that didn't turn out too well for her last night, or maybe it did. She's alive today. Chris is alive today. And Mr. Musselman is alive today. And certainly, if you believe her text, she intended to commit murder last night and possibly suicide. Oh, and now for the rest of the story. There was no woman there. There was no female at the house. There was no female involved. Chris said and told us last night, you know, I don't have another female in my life. This was all jealous rage. And there was not even another person at the house, another female at the house last night. So at the end of the day, I hope Lindsay learns from this, and she certainly should, because she has survived, and we're going to charge her with 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder for Mr. Ingram and Mr. Musselman. We're going to charge her with aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, our deputy, and our deputy his name is Turley. He's got 9 years experience. He's an incredibly good law enforcement officer, and he protected himself and Mr. Ingram last night, and both of them were able to survive that event without injuries. She's also going to be charged with felony criminal mischief and armed burglary. She's going to prison, but the good news for her, she's alive to go to prison. Upon her conviction, she'll have some time in the state prison, we certainly hope, to think about her evil ways and her out-of-control conduct and what narcotics or alcohol she was on. We don't have the details at this time. Any questions?
So, Sheriff, we talked to a neighbor who said he heard, and that he's not sure it's true, that maybe her parents had come over to Chris's house over the weekend to talk to him about having a baker acted. Are you aware of any attempts by anyone to discuss getting her baker acted or some kind of mental health help before this?
I'm not personally aware that she has been Baker acted. I know that her rages have been a topic of conversation among Chris and apparently his family, but I have no details.
When she rammed his truck however long ago, wouldn't that have been a sign that there's a problem with her and some kind of help could have been given and maybe this could have been prevented?
Well, certainly that would have been a sign when she rammed his truck, but I don't even think he reported that. This, apparently her outburst are more common than not, and certainly she was way out of control last night because she threw total caution to the wind. She, by her own admission, was ready to die. She was ready to kill this girl that didn't even exist. And that's why when we come to you and talk frequently about the dangerous positions law enforcement officers across the state and nation are put in, here's another sign. We're right in the middle of this absolutely uncontrollable situation. Deputy Tully did exactly what he should have in order to protect Chris Ingram and himself. They're alive and well, and Lindsay's alive, and that's fortunate for her and her family as well. So the reminder is this. When we show up at these events, we want to help people. We don't want anybody to be hurt, but we're darn sure not going to let you stab us, shoot us, stab other people, shoot other people. Our job is to protect, and that's what our deputy did last night. Any other questions?
Ready to talk about, she may be in a mental state, may not be, maybe drug induced, maybe, we don't know. What type of care is she going to get now, in the county or the state?
Well, what she's going to get is obviously the very best treatment. And Lakeland Regional Medical Center is a trauma center and a remarkable medical facility. We're going to ensure she gets the best treatment. And as soon as she's medically fit, she will be transferred to our infirmary where she will be taken care of by physicians and nurses. And unless she makes bond, she'll be there until the day she's tried for 2 counts of attempted murder.
And your deputy, I'm sure you're going to offer him mental assistance as well.
What occurs, we have a normal protocol that when you're involved in an extremely violent situation occurs, and this protocol automatically kicks in. First off, there's a criminal investigation into the event by our homicide team, who are the best talented, best trained, most experienced detectives. Second, we have an administrative investigation that occurs to make sure all policies, protocols, procedures were appropriate and followed. And if they weren't, that's documented. Third, the state attorney's office does an independent investigation, and they were called and were at the scene with us last night. It's standard protocol that the state attorney's office is notified and does an independent investigation on each of these events. Fourth, before our deputy can return to work, it is mandated that he have a session, a counseling session with our psychiatrist, so the psychiatrist can say, here's the emotional feelings that you'll have after having to use deadly force to protect someone else. Because I can tell you, no one gets out of a dangerous event like this unscarred. For all of us who have been involved in one of these events in the past, we all recognize it's highly stressful. No one takes this job and thinks, gosh, one day I'll get to shoot somebody. In fact, our prayer is just the opposite. We start this career and pray we can get through an entire career without having to use potentially deadly force. Last night, our deputy did a remarkable job, and we'll make sure that he has all the support in order for us to get him back to work as soon as possible. Anything else?
Right away there, would you also make a comment on the mayor that recently passed?
Sure. On another subject, Mayor J.R. Sullivan recently passed. J.R. was a dear friend of mine. He spent most of his adult life serving the people of Eagle Lake, which is a small town. He and I both loved the Andy Griffith Show, and he considered Eagle Lake his Mayberry. And in many ways, it absolutely was. J.R. not only served as a police officer and a lieutenant, but the chief of police. After being the chief of police, he was elected to the city commission. The first time he ran, the vote was 111 to 111. He won by a coin toss. The next times, and he was elected 2 more times, he ran once in a landslide, and the other time he wasn't even opposed. He was the mayor of Eagle Lake when he passed away. He has 2 wonderful kids, 2 beautiful grandchildren, and a wonderful wife who, by the way, retired from the sheriff's office after 34 years. JR was a funny man. He often spoke of how he and his wife met in jail. Well, they did. They both worked in bookend at the county jail as employees of the sheriff. But when you look at Eagle Lake today, it is a better place than JR found it. That's the kind of man he was. And he did an awesome job working for and promoting the city of Eagle Lake. And it was his Mayberry. Anything else? Thank you all very much. Have a good day.